I think last year is such a great example, and we can sit here and say it was wrong in many respects. That's fine, because they didn't get the job done. But I just don't think we can misplace the conversation going into last year's draft. The conversation going into last year's draft is this team was bringing everybody back and had like 21 out of 22 starters in place, other than right tackle, which we thought actually might be a Walker Little spot. He could just move over there and play right tackle, which means you could have had like 22 starters in place for this football team. Good or bad? Obviously, it turned out not to be the greatest thing. But that was the point going into the draft. The Jags ended up with 13 draft picks, which is crazy. And every one of them is really doesn't need to necessarily be a starting factor going in. Well, Anton Harrison gets drafted. They end up using him. That works out. I think this year is going to be very similar after what we just saw coming back with free agency. Where are the holes? Where's the guy that you're drafting that is going to play 60% of the time, 50% of the time? Receiver, possibly, because you can still make a move there. They're going to play a 4-3, so they need more rotational help at pass rush and maybe even defensive line, even with the addition of Armstead. They could maybe get another body there. Do they need a strong side linebacker? I can't imagine they're drafting a linebacker early. They've got a lot of investment there. Are they comfortable with Antonio Johnson being the safety? Or could they go in a direction where they get another one?
Yeah, but in the first round, Brent?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to do that with tight end. They're not going to do that with running back. Their offensive line, is somebody getting drafted at 17 that's going to take the place of somebody already there? Probably not. So here we are again. And
we don't have any gaping holes.
We don't. But what you have to be able to do is say at least that first round guy is going to plug and play. Because it feels like a wasted pick at 17 if that guy's not playing.
I mean, to me, it feels wasted and it feels a little cocky. You know, like that's not how the NFL works.
Yeah.
You know, the draft is in place for you bring guys in the first round that contribute right away and help your team out. That's the way it's always been. And you have to draft the right guys to be successful. And to sit here and say we're going to draft somebody, and you know what? We'll see how it all pans out. I mean, for the future, to hell with that. And I think, listen, I'm sure Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke know this as well. A lot of eyes on you this year. Gotta have some improvements, right? Like I think Shad Khan's probably already had this conversation with them. So if you're gonna put it all on the line, if this is kind of the make or break season for you, the last thing I'm going to do as a GM or head coach is bring in a guy where I'm like, we can try to plug and play him, but we'll see. No, the guy I'm bringing in is going to be all over this team. He's going to be all over the field because he has to be.
So here's where I go with this, guys, and I kind of just referenced it, and I'm not predicting it, but I wouldn't be afraid to predict it. I feel like the Jags are going to move a player in the next month because I don't know what the hell they're doing with Walker Little. I don't know what they necessarily are even doing or have a plan for with their former third-round pick in Chad Muma. I don't know if Tyson Campbell, given it's a contract year, how they feel about him coming off last year, which means are you invested for down the road? Is it worth getting something in return at this point? You can still shove that under the Urban Meyer umbrella, right? If you did.
But, yeah.
Or I would say... I'm trying to think Cam's a tradable piece.
Well, that's where I was going to go with it. Because if you're Trent Baalke, what does it look like if you trade Chad Muma? And guess what? You're not getting a third-round pick for Chad Muma either. You're getting a sixth-round pick because what does he have to show?
Yeah.
And they
might need Muma to play that strong side in a 4-3, right?
Yeah,
I mean, can he play that strong side? Who's going to play their strong side?
Time will we'll break that down later. But also with like a guy like Walker Little, what do you essentially get for him? I mean, he's shown some glimpses, but you're not going to get what you drafted for him.
No.
So if I'm Trent Baalke and I'm taking that into account as well, because Trent Baalke drafted Walker. Well, he was part of the Walker Little draft.
Oh yeah, I think that was his pick.
He was part of the Chad Muma draft.
That was his pick.
Yeah. So what does it make you look like as a GM if you're letting guys go and getting less value for what you drafted them for? Doesn't make you look good. So that's why I think if anybody's going to be on the trade table, it's going to be Cam Robinson because one would think you can actually get something for Cam Robinson.
Yeah,
not a first-round pick probably, but you can get something for him.
Well, and you lose those dollars. The dollars are still there. But here's the deal, guys. I think that too. I think he's a prime candidate, but at the same time, I hear them mention Cam left and right. Mm-hmm. He is in their conversation all the time. Like, you go back and listen to the offensive line conversation with Doug yesterday, Cam's name gets brought up, I think, like 2, 3, 4 times. That's not a guy that's like they're on the tape. Now, maybe they're pushing him out there because they want to shop him a little bit. They don't feel to me like they're shopping Cam Robinson.
Even bulky at the combine.
It doesn't mean somebody can't make a call for him, right? And say, hey, we like this guy. To me, the guy they're saying nothing about is Walker Little, which means that could be a guy that they do move because he's going to be an unhappy player. Let's be honest. And I don't blame him. Like, he's got to be an unhappy player.
Okay, but we talk about defensive line depth all the time. What about offensive line depth?
That's fine from the Jags standpoint, but you don't want an unhappy player sitting there all year either. And in fairness to Walker Little, like, what are you doing with him? Like, their whole plan, their whole whatever, it's been a mystery.
I mean, listen, you know how I feel about this. You took him in the second round, okay? Theoretically, what do you get? Maybe a fifth round for him right now? Maybe a 6th round?
Yeah, but maybe it
I
helps
can't
you move up to
justify
number
that.
12 to go get a receiver you like.
I'm not justifying. Maybe, I guess. But once again, like, so you think that 5th round pick's gonna help you move up that many spots?
You just never know. Like,
I mean, you never know what teams are interested in, but